Thank you for listening to this Podcast One production. Now available on Spotify, PodcastOne.com, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Amazon is hiring near you. Earn a competitive wage and start as soon as 7 days. No resume or experience required. Health and safety are a top priority with all of our roles and sites. Amazon is taking precautions in our buildings to keep people healthy. Go to amazon.com/apply. That's amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
So if you really just reverse the roles for a second, can you imagine if humans were like dogs? Every time you walked in the house, gets excited, starts running around the house. Can you imagine if people did that? You know how exciting that would be? People started howling and running around. It would be awesome. I mean, it might get old after a little while, but it would be pretty amazing, right?
Don't you know that the music should be solemn?
This is Theo Rossi.
This is Theory. What the deals? What the deals? This is Theo and this is Theory. So I just flew into LA for a week for like meetings and whatnot and all that stuff. And when I was on the plane, the guy right across from me in the next aisle had a service dog with him. And absolutely beautiful, just beautiful, like all dogs, like all animals, but just beautiful and calm, and had the saddest eyes, which I don't mean in like a bad way, just these beautiful sad eyes, just so, you know, warm. And it made me think at that moment that I realized that, you know, and I've never lived a single day of my life without a dog, at least one. You know, I've had multiple, and other animals as well. You know, hamsters, snakes, cats, lots of cats. Friend in college had chinchillas, you know, everything. But dogs have been the predominant thing in my life. Like, you know, I've just always had them. They've always been around me. And again, lots of them. And when I was staring at this dog on the plane, I knew right then and there, I was like, you know, this is something that has been so important to me forever. And I know it's not just me, right? I saw every person who walked on this plane and saw this dog was like smiling instantly, instant smiles when they see a dog. And I was thinking that just, like, my theories kind of on this are, you know, this isn't an episode like just for people who love dogs, which is awesome, right? I think, you know, I don't really trust people who don't, but this is also like, you know, it could be for any man and any animals, you know, if you have, you know, cats, whatever you have. But also, if you don't have animals, maybe this will help you understand kind of why people are so nuts about it, or, you know, why they're so obsessed with their dogs, or, you know, any animals in general. And I'm just going to give you my theories of why I think that, just through my own experience. So again, I've never lived a single day in my life without them. So they've always been around. So for all the highs, lows, every single part of my life, there was always, whenever I, you know, conjure up that image in my head, there's always a dog around. I could almost go to parts of my life by what dogs were with me at that point. And when you really think about dogs, like truly, they're so incredible because they definitely just put up with humans, like, you know, in a way, because they kind of have this unwritten deal that, like, you're going to feed them, you're going to walk them, you're going to do everything for them. So by doing that, they're like, okay, so we'll let you hang out with us, right? Because, you know, they could probably really run away if they wanted to. They could definitely get away. They can make an exit somehow when they're on the leash, like, you know, have a plan to get away. But they want to be with you, right? They choose to be. And because I think, you know, in a way they need us. I don't think as much as we need them. And I know that for me, there's just pure joy whenever I'm with dogs, whenever I'm around them, especially, you know, even ones that aren't my own, and, you know, especially my own, but like even ones that aren't my own, there's this sheer joy, like I saw with all these people who were walking on this plane today. And my theories on why that is because the obvious, right? Which we've heard a million times. There's no judgment. There's no judgment whatsoever, right? From a dog. So it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter, you know, bad, good, whatever, wherever you are in life. You know, sad, happy. They just are there for you. They want you to be better. They want you to like just lay with them, be calm, and, you know, and they just accept you for who you are, right? So I think that's the major thing. That's the first one. That's what everybody says, right? There's no judgment. Okay, so why is that so important? Well, the sad reality is that I don't care who it is in your life, family members, you know, spouses, even kids probably at one point, there's always going to be, you're never going to have somebody that's going to have no judgment, you know, in humans, because it's just the way it is, right? It's just the way people are built, humans are built. Why dogs are so different? Because they are wagging that tail. They're happy no matter what, no matter just to see you. So if you really just reverse the roles for a second, can you imagine if humans were like dogs? Every time you walked in the house, people just went nuts, yelling, barking. Like my husky, like barks loud, gets excited, starts running around the house. Can you imagine if people did that? You know how exciting that would be at all times? If every time you walked in a room, people started howling and running around, it would be awesome. That would be amazing, right? You know, it would just get you excited. I mean, it might get a little crazy it might get old after a little while, but it would be pretty amazing, right? And you know, again, all those other things, right? There's the no judgment thing, but then there's the, you know, the fact that like they stretch when they get up. They like take care of themselves. Like they stretch and they kind of like, you know, they go run and they go outside and they kind of like get their exercise on. They nap a lot and they do like, they're like setting the bar of what we're supposed to be doing, but we just keep ignoring it. Like they've been around us for so long. I think at just one point there's going to be like, I mean, what do we have to do to show these people to chill out a little? So we have all these things that when we're watching them, I think we admire a ton, right? The most important thing is that comfort that they give us. Because, you know, the world's a crazy place, right? So dogs especially give you comfort, just like cats, just like, you know, ferrets and, you know, whatever it is that gives you that comfort in a non-human form, which, you know, animals do, I believe. And my relationship with dogs is that they've been like seasons of my life as I've gone through with them. You know, I think it's one of the cruelest tricks in the world is the fact that, you know, dogs are only here for a significant amount of time. You know, I just lost 2 on the same day. It was an absolute and utter heartbreaker, shattered me in every way. And, you know, they made it for a while. They were 14 and 15 and they were big. You know, they were 70 pounds. Dogs, because bigger ones, you know, live less, shorter amounts of time than smaller ones. And I've always had big dogs, always had really big dogs, you know, up to like 100, 140 pounds. And they seem to, you know, usually have shorter lifespans. And it's kind of cruel in a way, right? Because it goes by in a blink. But maybe that's the point. Maybe there's supposed to be multiple ones in your life. Maybe there is seasons of them, kind of like people, right? You have people who are like seasonal throughout your time here. People who you were thick as thieves with them for a little while. And then, you know, it just fades. And maybe dogs don't want that fade. It's kind of on and popping from beginning to end. And my theories on why this is so important to me was it shaped the way I have looked at the world. I have an incredible amount of love and passion and for animals, all animals, which started from my relationship with dogs. I've always felt, you know, and again, not pushing anything on anybody. Probably the reason I'm a, vegan and all that stuff was I've never really understood the concept of like, okay, you're cool, you're not. Okay, so dog cool, cow no, tuna, bad luck, dolphin, we love you. I've never really understood that. It's just kind of weird to me. Like if you love animals, like it's all animals, right? But again, that's just my theory. I'll never, ever, ever be one of those people that I just do what's right for me. But all those things came from, so I attribute a lot of my health choices, the way I feel, because I do, obviously I just personally feel a lot better. So I attribute that a lot to, dogs and growing up with them and my feelings for animals and their welfare. And I've just, again, they've also been there for me in times where it's been, tricky. They've always been there. They've always been the constant for me. And again, where it's made me, I think, have more empathy. I think when you have empathy towards animals, that expands into people. I mean, sometimes it definitely makes you look at humans different, but I think it also expands. I think when you're a caring person, it will bleed into all things, right? It's very rare that you find people that care so much about animals, but yet, they just hate everything else. That's usually just not the case. It's usually one ties into the other. And then at the same time, when you see people, or I've had my experiences, people who are just awful towards animals, these kids who you hear of, like, doing horrible things to animals when they're kids and all that, they usually turn out to be, pretty aggressive, not great people. And maybe I'm even being a little nice there, but usually people who, people who treat animals like shit, they're usually pieces of shit too. I mean, in every single way. That's just kind of goes with it, just like, again, with the caring thing. And again, just in my experience. So if you're somebody who's listening to this and you treat animals like shit, I mean, 1, you shouldn't be listening to this, and 2, you should go fuck yourself. But besides that, so where I think that one, with that, what they do for you is that they're this mirror of kind of how we want to be, right? And I've always felt that, they're just, I mean, look at it, right? What do we say? Puppies and ice cream and, all this stuff, they just represent pure happiness. So recently on the 2 who I've just lost, and I know a lot of people have heard this story, but, this will give you one example of why, I do think they're so important. So, another thing about me that I'm not sure a ton of people know is, I also, I don't drink or anything like that, or, or do anything for that matter. But that wasn't always the case. I used to indulge quite heavily back in the day. Quite heavily when I was just a wee lad, a youngster. And, when Benny first came into my life, one of my dogs who just passed, Benito, Benny passed. He was 15 years old recently. And when he first came into my life, he was just a couple of years old. And, it was right before I kind of stopped everything. And it was one of the catalysts, this thing that happened was one of the catalysts for me stopping everything was, one night, I guess I'd gotten really, messed up, on probably all sorts of stuff, whatever was going on. And I had come home and I guess I had fallen, passed out. I don't want to even say fallen asleep because that would be like I went to do it on my own. But I guess I had passed out. And when I woke up, the only reason I woke up was Benny was yelping like really loud, like bloody murder yelping. And he was pawing at my chest with his big paw. He was big, you know, I think at the time he was like 80 pounds. And he was pawing at my chest with his paw, and my chest was bleeding from his nails. And when I woke up, I had fallen asleep on my back, and I was asphyxiating. I had vomited in my sleep. And I didn't know it. I was obviously passed out. So he was waking me up because who knows, maybe I was coughing or maybe whatever was happening. I don't know. So when I turned over to the side, everything had come out. I started choking, you know, and I got everything out, and it was so weird. It came out. It was like almost like the shape of my throat. It was obviously been resting in there for however long. And I was out of breath, and I knew everything, you know, everything was wrong. I was completely discombobulated. And, when I woke up, when I like came out of it, or whatever you want to say, I like looked around and I looked at him, and I knew at that moment that he had saved my life. Like you just know, right? Like I knew he had completely and utterly saved my life. I would not be here. I would not be doing this podcast. And he was, you know, he'd just been with me a little while, and we had this incredible bond before that, but there was something that happened at that moment where we like, almost like, it's just the strangest thing. It was almost like his spirit became part of me. Like it was just the weirdest thing. And that was one of the catalysts at that moment where I was like, I'm not going to be this person anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. And that was one of the main catalysts. And I never did again. You know, it was a long time ago now. And the reason I say that story is because I know there was more to it. I know that he was there for whatever reason at that season of my life. And I'm so, you know, I'm so happy that the next 10, almost 11 years, I gave him a different version of me. And he's the reason. He's a dog. But yet, you know, potentially the most important thing that's ever happened in my life. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't have met my wife. And not just because he saved my life in that moment, but because I changed my life in that moment. Because even if I didn't die, which I definitely would have, but if I didn't, I wouldn't have changed. And if I didn't change, I would have never met my wife. My wife would have never been with that other person. I would have never been successful in what I do for a living. I would have never had all my other businesses, and I probably would have never have maintained my relationships. So to the rest of the world, just a dog changed my entire existence, changed my path. So again, another reason why I believe animals in general are so incredibly important for us, because they're a mirror. And I just, you know, from when I was young, I look back and I've had little significant moments with all of them. All these different, you know, dogs and cats and everything, mainly dogs in my life. Ones that were there, ones that have gotten me through specific times, and they put you on different paths without really you even knowing it. Mine was pretty dramatic. Mine was a big one, but there's little things that happen. Maybe just the comfort level. So my theory is that it's bigger than just, you won't really ever hear me say the word pet. I don't know why. I've just always been something since I was young. I don't say like my pet, or it's not a pet. I tell my sons with our other dog, Rocco, you know, who's, thank God, still with us, you know, with Rocco, that's their brother. I'm like, hey, go get your brother. And other people probably look at me like I'm nuts because they're like, he's a dog. But no, it's their brother. So I don't say the word pet. So I think that there's more to this. I think that there's a deeper thing here. And my theories are that we need them. We need them in our lives. And if we just pay attention to it a little more, you'll see that there's a bigger importance to it. Maybe not on such like a tremendous level of saving your life, but maybe them getting you through something or making you laugh or getting you to take them for walks, which maybe stops you from, who knows? Maybe, maybe your health was about to go downhill in something and you went on a walk and it didn't, or whatever. Maybe. I mean, I know the statistics are that people with, who have dogs or cats or whatever or something that they care for live longer. I mean, there's statistics to literally back this up. So I think we need them. I think they need us, but I think we need them in every way. And I encourage anybody who is listening to this to potentially, I always say adopt, don't shop, right? Like, I encourage you, if you can do it. Cause, listen, just like some people shouldn't be parents, probably most people, don't just like fly by night, like rescue an animal, because it's a giant commitment that a lot of people don't take too seriously. But if you do, and you do have that thing that you feel that this companion, man, it'll change your life. It'll change your life. There's not a dog person. And again, I'm just sticking to dogs. So please, don't, I mean that for all animals. There's not a dog person who's listening to this who doesn't understand that. Change your life. It'll change your life. And will help you with a ton of things. With a ton of things that you wouldn't even think about. Especially in the way things are going now with more anxieties and, and people feeling more depressed and, feeling like maybe they're not reaching where they're supposed to be. And man, just spend time with a dog. You have to be happy. You just do. You'd be a certifiable lunatic if you're around a dog and you're not happy. And I love it. I love it. I've always talked to my dogs just like I'm talking to you right now. I've always thought one of the coolest things I've never done, and I've always wanted to do this, is have a bunch of dogs and name them like normal names. When I say normal, I don't mean that because my name I don't even think would be considered normal. I mean just like standard names. How about that? Like Bill and Mike and Sue and it just like I don't know. I'm just saying like I just wanted them all to have just like, so when people come in the house and they're like, "Hey, who's that?" and you're like, "Oh, that's Mike, and that's Bill, and that's Susan," and like they just they're not like, my dogs have always had like dog names. Well, not Benito. I don't Rocco. Rocco's, I guess I knew some guys named Rocco. I don't know. But where I'm going with that was I always kind of wanted dogs that just blended right in with like Linda and I don't know. And then, because I used to have, I had this amazing English bulldog named Little Jake. I always wanted 2 bulldogs and to name them Ham and Cheese. I thought that would be super cool. So I got off complete track there. So if you do, and you don't have dogs, if you do think about going out and rescuing, I highly encourage it if you can. I think it'll change your life. And that's my theories for today, is that I think, and I'm sure, and maybe just from my stories of not just the one of Benny saving my life, but I just think they change everything. And I think there's a reason. And I think when this is all over with, we're potentially going to find out. Somebody's going to be like, "Hey, by the way, all those dogs? Yeah, I was trying to tell you something. Just act more like them. Just do what they do. So we could have these living gods walking amongst us, but they're not on 2 legs, they're on 4. So I will do anything in this world to protect animals. And I think that we're about to hit this incredible turning point where we're all starting to kind of step out of the matrix a little on how important animals are to us. And I think dogs are the pioneers who have kind of led that way to show us, because without our relationship with them, we wouldn't maybe think that we can have that relationship with every animal if we just open our eyes a little more. I'm not telling you to go buy or rescue a saber-toothed tiger here or something. I'm just saying that I think in all ways, dogs have always been trying to show us that we're more similar than we are different. But they're way better than us. All right. That's the theory. Whether you agree with it or not, that's my theory.
Amazon is hiring near you. Earn a competitive wage and start as soon as 7 days. No resume or experience required. Health and safety are a top priority with all of our roles and sites. Amazon is taking precautions in our buildings to keep people healthy. Go to amazon.com/apply. That's amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.